What's going on, y'all? Straight to the point, sports and entertainment. I'm going to just go ahead and jump right into this, okay? Now, I want to give a shout out to Dreamers Pro. He put me on to this right here. If you're not sub to Dreamers Pro, definitely go sub to his channel. Um, but basically, what I'm talking about here is Charles Barkley, as you know, had came out and basically said that the network of ESPN constantly builds up the Lakers and builds up the Golden State Warriors even when they're struggling, and even when they know that they possibly will not make the playoffs, or yet alone even the play in, okay, for that matter. Now, I'm not saying that they won't make it, that they will or will not make it, but Charles Barkley feels, that way, and what's the point of pushing them too? And he's talking about, of course, ESPN. Well, Kendrick Perkins, he was on the Pat McAfee show, and he basically has some things to say, responding back to Charles Barkley. I'm going to put the link to this segment in the description so that you could take a listen to it and also give your feedback as well. But here's my thing, okay? Although both of these guys have improved in terms of their being on the media, because at first Perk did struggle in terms of being on the media and everything, and Charles Barkley had his struggles too as well. And I'm not necessarily just talking about as far as them articulating the words and that sort of thing. That's not what I'm talking about at all. When you transition over from being an athlete on to being an analyst or a commentator or into the media world, you struggle with actually being a player still, rather than just being solely media. And that's what a guy like Shaquille O'Neal, he struggled with. That's the one example that comes to my mind. If you go back and you look at the early days of when Shaq had began on TNT and getting into the media, that sort of thing, he actually was coming from a player's perspective and approaching it, which a lot of people would be like, well, hey, what's wrong with that? But when you're in the media, you have to learn to separate media and being the player out there on the floor, or in other cases, on the field or whatever respective sport that athlete used to play. Um, the thing about it is when it comes to Kendrick Perkins, I'm going to be honest with you. That's part of the problem there. Now, Kendrick Perkins had responded and said to Charles Barkley that, he wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, so to speak, basically saying that, he's wasn't intelligent, okay, to really talk about this. And then also, he has said, how could you not talk about a guy, of course, in LeBron James, who he considers as, the greatest to ever touch the basketball, arguably. And then also, how could you not talk about a guy in Steph Curry, who is a generational talent and everything. And all that is great. And all that, a lot of people understand that. And then here was the question that he asked was, he said, who are we going to talk about? And then who are we going to talk about after that? He said, when they're gone. Well, that's part of the reason that we're in the state right now that we're in terms of just pushing one team or just one player or a couple players, or and that's it, and mainly it's just like the Lakers. Of course they push the Lakers more, because they have, LeBron James, who is a billionaire, this sort of thing, the 40K points, blah, 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 blah. We already know all of that. But you're always going to struggle with moving on if you don't start going ahead and pushing these players now, because there are more talented players in the league right now. The league is, of course, you have a lot of young talent. Some of the talent has not even reached 30 yet. But then again, you're continuing to push, in a lot of people's eyes, who they see as a dinosaur. Now I know that he's still playing, he's still running and everything, but at the same token, if you go back and you go look in the previous seasons, when we talk about, before the LeBron James era, the NBA moved on, okay? And they struggle with moving on. Now with Steph Curry, I could kind of understand why they're still pushing him, because he's actually won a championship in the last couple of years. Yes, LeBron won in 2020. We understand that, okay? But at the same token, he's had his failures too as well. And they're not calling Steph Curry, with his failures or anything like that, they're not calling him the face of the NBA, when Steph Curry actually has an argument to be the face of the NBA, considering what he's done for the league, okay? So you have to understand, the other, the fans' mindset, and where the real true hardcore basketball fans are coming from, because it's like the only agenda that you're pushing is just one player and one team, and I say just one team when I'm just talking about the Lakers. Now they talked about the Warriors and stuff like that. They only talk about the Warriors when, let's just call it what it is, when something negative is happening, or when something really, really great is happening. And what I mean by that, when something negative is happening, they're talking about the trials and tribulations that happened to Clay, or they're talking about the trials and tribulations that are going through, that Draymond Green is going through. Or they're talking about the situation that was going on with Andrew Wiggins, okay? That's the negative part. And then the positive part is when they talk about when Steph Curry has a phenomenal game, or, achieves a record or something like that, but they're not constantly pushing the Warriors like as if they're like the Lakers. They talk about the Lakers every single time. I've always been the notion, if you pay attention to my channel, I talk about everything on my channel. I just don't talk about one team. I just don't talk about one player. I just don't even talk about just one sport. If you notice, you have to have some variety, or else when all is said and done and those guys are gone, like Perk was saying, what are we going to talk about when those guys are gone? Well, shit. Look at your attitude right there. It's like you're already programming people to think that way, like, okay, well, LeBron's not on TV, so there's no need in watching it. Or Steph Curry's not on TV, we're not going to watch it. And the Lakers and Warriors not on TV, so we're not going to watch it. And to me, that right there is the problem. You're the problem with that. You're more of the problem than being the solution. So I understand where Charles Barkley is coming from, even though I don't agree with a lot of things that Charles Barkley says. But on this one, I kind of understand. The NBA does need to move on, and that's it is what it is. Other players need to be marketed, and that's part of the reason why guys like Giannis and the Tatums, or even to a lesser degree, because they're a little bit younger, like the Anthony Davises. Of course, I mentioned Ja in the past, but of course, we know the situation that's going on with Ja and everything. But guys like that, they deserve a chance to start being marketed, not talked about sparingly. So y'all let me know what you think. These are just my opinions. Make sure you like the video, share, subscribe, hit the notification too. Straight to the point, sports and entertainment. I'll get at you later.